Okay, it's about time for another week or so in review. um, it is June 24th, 2016, in the moon Misamsuta, the long rains. And I'm calling this one Meatloaf and Garlic for a couple of reasons. One, I'm curious to see how many people are even going to watch this because, initially, because I figure pretty much only the people who are really kind of committed, interested in the things that I put on my channel are going to tune into something called Meatloaf and Garlic. But I'm also interested long term in how many people come over here looking for a recipe. So, for those in the latter category, I'll go ahead and say that you're not going to find a recipe for meatloaf and garlic here. This is not a how-to video. I am going to talk about meatloaf. I am going to talk about garlic, but not in the way that some people might think tuning in. So what I am going to talk about mainly, though, is what's been going on in my life for around the last week or so, right? And we'll start off with living in the land of birds. My life is a lot about birds. This is my favorite bird in the world. This is Derek, so skinny, a magpie who's been in my family for 6 years now, and very embedded, very loved. We got him from the nest when we knew him as an egg, for real, but didn't take him from the nest till a little bit later, but early enough that he was imprinted on us, and was our first experience kind of raising a bird from the time he was a baby, from a hatchling, not even fledged yet. And he taught us a lot about birds, but he also attracted a lot of attention from both other birds and from human beings. So, initially we ended up having magpies come into our house. We were renting at that time, and we had magpies coming and hanging out, and we thought it was so cool. We would bring Derek outside, and he would be able to associate with some of the other magpies. Well, came to the point where they knew us so well in the first year that when they had babies again the next summer, they started bringing their fledglings over to be babysat by us. And so we had like lots of magpie activity at our house, and our neighbors kind of went nuts about it, and ended up talking to our landlord and getting us in all kinds of trouble. And then I had to try to lure the magpies away, and it was a whole lot of drama around birds that time. When I went to lure the magpies away, I brought them to a local park. I was feeding them out there, and then the gulls, the ring-billed gulls, noticed me feeding them out there, so they started coming. And then we had a ring-billed gull problem in the neighborhood where they were coming and like perching up on top of all my neighbors' houses, waiting for me to come out in the mornings. And the roofs of my neighbors' houses were coated in gull shit, and they were not happy. So luckily, however, we moved out of that house, bought our own, and now we can do whatever the heck we want. But for some reason now, Derek does not attract so much attention. But we have several other birds, and the reason we've got several other now is because people saw what we did with Derek, and now in this part of the summer season, when they come across injured or abandoned fledglings, we're the ones that they call in Lethbridge. It's a city of about 100,000, but anybody posts anything on one of the big public Lethbridge pages about birds, and I'm going to be tagged all over in there by all kinds of people because they were well known for this. So poor Derek has been set upon this last season as we've been bringing in the injured birds, and we talked about the duckling last week. This week we had magpie inundation, and so this has become Derek's nightmare. Little baby, fledgling magpie, jumping in your face, screaming, screeching, big open mouth, little bit terrifying looking if if it's right up in your face. But this is just how a begging magpie baby looks. You know about human babies when they get hungry and stuff, they cry and cry and cry. Well, magpie babies do the same thing. But this is how they cry. They wave their wings and open their mouth and squawk and yeah, they're they're quite a handful. So we got 3 new magpie fledglings, and I was able to find another adoptive home for one of those. We decided to keep this one because we think it may be a male and become Derek's mate, because Derek is actually a female. We originally named him Derek thinking he was a male, but this year he started laying eggs. So we no longer think that. And now we were thinking maybe he needs a mate, because we go through a pretty intense period of what we call the ponfar, like that thing that Spock had from Star Trek, where he's got his hormone levels all high for a little period, and he wants to do violence to everybody. Derek gets like that during the mating season because he doesn't have a mate. So we thought this one might be a good mate for him. But yeah, it's a tough season for birds. Like, I drive down the road here, and this last couple of weeks, the road is just littered with fledgling crows and fledgling magpies. This was a scene that I actually stopped and photographed today. This is a crow fledgling that's been run over, and his what would have been his nestmate is standing on top of him with his head drooped. I watched him for a while. He wasn't picking at him or anything like that. He was just standing on him, very sullen with his head drooped right off the side of the road. Like, this is a barrier on a very busy road that they're up against, and cars are passing just like 2 feet away. Lots and lots of traffic. And and he wasn't even aware that I was there right above him taking this picture. He's just so involved in mourning for his nestmate. The parents were aware. The parents came to swoop me, but this poor bird he's in shock about his deceased sibling. So yeah, this is the kind of scenes that are like every day this time. And what happens is, magpies and crows, they have to go through a long learning period. They're very intelligent, eh? And so they go through a very long learning period in their first summer, and they're following their parents, and their parents are opportunists, and they clean after our mess. Like, we've always lived symbiotically with them. They've always been very close to humans. They've always been what they call synanthropic, like an animal that lives with humans. But it used to be that they were like our hunting partners, right? They would show us where there was animals to kill. We would kill them, and they would get the parts that we didn't want, right? So now we don't listen to them. They still tell us, like, if I'm out in the coulees, magpies will still tell me where there's animals hidden. But We don't listen to them for the most part anymore. But we do still kill things, and where we kill things a lot is on the roads, right? So here in Lethbridge, we have a pretty high ground squirrel population, and ground squirrels get run over all the time. And so the magpies are on the road picking at ground squirrels or just picking at trash that have fallen out of people's vehicles or whatever, McDonald's fast food bags and this and that. And so when they're just out of the nest and they're not really trained to avoid vehicles, they're not expecting, you know, that kind of high speed death coming their way in the shape of a car. They're not programmed for it. They're programmed for some other things. You know, if a raptor flies 300 meters above them, and I'm sorry for the background noise here, by the way. I'm in these apartments doing my security shift, and somebody's decided to take a shower or something or a bath or whatever at 10 o'clock at night. Can't blame them. Not like I don't ever do that, but now the water sound is gone. I didn't even know if you could hear it or not, but here I was hearing it. It's very loud. Anyway, because the young crows and magpies look every bit as large as their parents, people don't slow down. They just think, oh, they'll get out of the way, and they don't. And I try to put the warning out there every year on the internet, on Facebook and stuff, all over the Lethbridge pages. You know, it's time to slow down for these animals because these guys are just out of the nest. They haven't trained enough yet. You know, they got to learn. These guys, you know, might have been their first time on the road, and whack. But yeah, this is a thing, and it drives me crazy every year because I don't run over birds. You know, I'll stop right in the middle of the busy road if there's a bird. But that's me. You'd stop for a human baby, right? So why can't you stop for a bird? So anyway, we had this, and then I got this other young magpie who I'm probably going to be keeping. This one we're calling Alex. The other one, by the way, Big Mouth here, we're calling Mika or Micah. Mahoney calls her Micah. I call her Mika. And my niece Belle calls her Mishka. But this one, we all agree we're calling her Alex. And Alex was set upon by some other magpies. Not sure why. My suspicion is that she just got in with a family that wasn't hers. And they attacked her and pecked her up her face pretty good, including blinding her in this one eye. That's why she has her eyelid closed. When she opens it, which she does, her eye is just, now it's just glassy. It's just glassed out. She does have one good eye, but her whole face when we first got her, when she first came to us, was all bloodied and stuff. And it was her and her sibling. Her sibling was the other one, the third magpie fledgling that I was able to actually find a adoptive home for. So yeah, this is probably I'm going to keep her because she's such a sympathy case, and I've got a big heart. I want to be around a bird like this, you know, to experience life with the one-eyed magpie and see what it's like, and help her, really, you know. So yeah, it's been a lot of bird activity, and in fact, it's been so much bird activity that I've just kind of stayed home a lot of the week and haven't worked a lot of security. I didn't work at the Galt or at the Fort Whoop-Up. You know, we had that soft opening for Fort Whoop-Up, and then a few days later there was the regular public opening. I didn't even go to it. I just was staying home taking care of birds and happy to be doing so. So I did that. Of course, I'm still getting snake calls, right? So this is a rattlesnake that I picked up. Where did I pick this one up? This one wasn't at the University of Lethbridge. This was, gee, not quite sure where I picked this one up. I've been getting rattlesnake calls almost daily. This one I'm releasing in Cottonwoods. Oh, so I picked it. I picked this one up by a pond in a neighborhood called Sunridge, which is a brand new neighborhood, which is right on top of an area where there's a pretty big rattlesnake population. They built this neighborhood right over rattlesnake hunting areas. So the places where the rattlesnakes hunt, right? So yeah, this is a pretty big snake that I picked up and brought out to Cottonwood Park, which is a nature reserve not too far from there. Let it go. But yeah, I've been having lots of rattlesnake calls that have been going on. I also got this is where the garlic comes in. I also got called by Tom, the guy that I worked for over the winter, doing all kinds of odd stuff, auto body stuff, building fences and this and that. His garlic that we had planted last fall was in a phase where he wanted to take the tips out. I forget what there's a technical term for these tips, but these tips, when you take them off of the garlic, then all the juices from the plant go back into the bulb, right? So he wanted to take the tips off, and of course the tips are delicious in themselves, right? So we got two huge, like, big containers, maybe 3 feet wide by, or 3 feet long by 2 feet wide by probably 2.5 feet deep. We filled them with these garlic tips, which he just plans to, give away and share in this. So I took a big bag home myself. You can freeze them. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. So very good for cooking. But from picking them, I stink like garlic big time. Yes, I've been did a little bit of garlic farming, which didn't take me away from the house too long, a couple of hours. And then what security I worked a little bit. I had some fun. Had the kids at the apartment complex here. They all enjoy me, and I have fun with them. This was us doing some different faces, like we were doing selfies, right? So we had our normal face, then we had our scary face, then we had our tough face, then we had our stink face. So we were doing all kinds of playing around with the camera and stuff like this. And I've been playing tag with them and trying to have fun with them, for something to do here and for them to, to have an enjoyable experience with the security guard guy. And they're good kids. They're good kids in a really kind of a rough neighborhood. And they come from kind of, I don't know their families that well, but I don't know. I won't say anything more there. But I think they deserve some adults to play with them once in a while. Other things that are going on in my security world. Had a bunch of break-ins into the mailboxes at the apartments this week. Apparently, some government checks came out, and when the government checks came out, somebody decided to pry all the mailboxes open and steal people's checks. Pretty cool, huh? Taking a crowbar or something and just prying the whole drawers out and stealing the checks. I don't know what they do with stolen checks. I mean, it's not like their name's on it, but I don't know. Somehow, maybe they figure out how to cash it somehow. I don't know. I only worked a couple of days at the apartments, and this is basically the stuff that was going on. I did, however, do another security job, and this is where the meatloaf comes to play. This meatloaf, the guy, the big guy, the big thick guy, musician / actor. His name is Robert Paulson. This guy, yeah, he came through on his tour. He came through Alberta. He did a bunch of the cities here before he did Lethbridge. Well, he did a few of the cities before he did Lethbridge. And when he stopped in Edmonton, he collapsed. He got almost through his whole concert, and then he had, I don't know, it looked really bad. There's video of it. If you go on YouTube and you look for Meatloaf collapses Edmonton or something like this, you're going to see the video footage of it. But it's bad. Like, he's singing his song, and then all of a sudden he stops, drops the microphone just clonks on the stage. You know, the whole microphone stand and everything just falls on the stage, bonk, and then he falls after it onto the stage. And then kind of some stage hands and security and band members, you know, huddle around him, and the band stops playing, and the concert stopped, and he went to, you know, the hospital. And before that happened, I really wasn't interested in working the Meatloaf concert. I wasn't. It wasn't something I was going to pursue. I knew it was an option out there, but I didn't ask for a role in it. But then when that happened, I thought, well, he's not going to even do the Lethbridge concert, which was set up for 4 or 5 days later. And then, sure enough, he was still going to go through with it. So I was like, all right, I gotta go work the Lethbridge concert, because it might very well be his last concert. If something's really wrong with this guy and he's continuing to play these shows, and you know he's gonna be collapsing and stuff, maybe that's his last show. If something happens there, you know, I want to be there. So I talked to the supervisor, the security team there at our local center for concerts and such, and our local stadium. And he said, yeah, there's spots. And he knows I like to work the stage, so I was like, well, what spots? I was still kind of holding out. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. Which spots? But he told me he could give me a spot at the front of the stage, which is where I like to work. I normally like to work the barricade. There wasn't really a barricade for this concert. There was just two of us security at either end of the stage, basically. So, yeah, so I worked the Meatloaf concert, and Meatloaf did not die, and he did not collapse, and he's fine and continuing his concert tour as far as I know, moving through Canada. But yeah, there's your meatloaf and garlic for the week. What I've been up to. It's been really a heavy week of bird work. And I've got a lot of cleaning to do. I'm hoping to do some cleaning this weekend around the house. Clean up after these birds. But yeah, that's what's new in my world. And for those who've watched the whole thing, knowing that it's not about a recipe, I thank you.